Mark here again. Another update on the situation over here in Western Australia regarding firearms, politicians, government, police, all the bits and pieces that are going on. I'm not going to go back into the details of things for people who don't know what I'm talking about at all. There's a fair bit of news that you should know in Western Australia, and we have lots of videos on it. But for those that are aware to the basics of what's going on, we have had the upper house parliamentary review on the Firearms Act, the 2024 Firearms Act, and it's had all the submissions, had the bits and pieces that go through it, and really the theatre that it always was has come to be shown for exactly that. They have put in their report, which largely says, to the largest degree, we're fine, we've done nothing wrong, we see no issues whatsoever, which I think from what they want to put it forward, and if they can make it all go quiet, then that would seem fine. They've then had all the parties at the table, had a discussion, come up with a conclusion that fits what would appear, if you're not paying any attention, to have done all the bits and pieces to make sure you have proper legislation in place. In reality, they were never going to do anything with this review, which some have both politically politicians have misled the situation to, the police misled the situation to, some in our shooting community have misled the situation as false prophets, you would call it, as false hope as to where there would be some reprieve from laws that are, well, way out of control. And I'll go a little bit more into some of that stuff in a minute. But hopefully that veil has been lifted. Certainly from some of the conversations that I've had with people around the place, and these were more the people that were inclined to comply more in the sporting side of the firearms community, and we'll all be fine. If we do this, we get it's bad, but if we do the right things, it'll all be fine. It'll all settle down, and it's not too bad actually, and the review's coming. The tactic of the review, the theatre of the review, was to settle everyone down, and it'll all be fine because the review will fix it. Certainly the politicians and people in the know right at the beginning said there will be nothing worthwhile out of this. The only thing I would say, and this is graphed or gained out of what people sort of explained to me, is I'm a little surprised they've done it so quickly, they've got to this place. The more logical stance would be to drag this out even further, get even more people into the system, more completely over to where everyone's on it. They've removed the firearms of the easy stuff they're doing through the process and got there before they let this review be finished, because not only does it lift the veil, so you should see this for what it is, and like I said, I'll explain more, but the other side to things is that now the legal action can start. People say, what's happening with the money that Kate's got in the lawyers? Or what's happening with these other people who are talking about doing legal cases? What's happened? Why aren't the legal things happening? With the review in place, the laws were potentially going to change. And so because of that, and there still is a little bit of that with the Parliament has this little game. You have some politicians saying, oh, we're going to have a couple of months to go through and figure out what we're going to change or not change. Ultimately, the laws, to the largest degree, the committee suggestions, which is the only thing the government's going to work with, said, no, we're fine. We haven't done anything wrong. We don't care that we've given massive power to the executive part of the government, or basically the police can do, under the police minister and commissioner, can do pretty much what they want if they want to. We don't care that we've stripped rights from firearms owners, which were completely legal, lawful people, citizens or humans in our state. We've decided you don't deserve the rights of organised crime. You don't have the same rights as a patched biking member anymore. You don't have the same rights as pretty much anyone else I can find in Western Australia, apart from a full-blown criminal. You are, in their eyes, a criminal. You don't have rights. You do not have the right to silence. You didn't have the right to protect your property from police search, from whatever pretty much the police want to do. That's where our laws have gone. You are a lower class human being in Western Australia. And our upper house, our review committee, all of them signed off on, yeah, that's okay. That's not really a problem, because we all obviously hate people with firearms. We hate firearms, but probably even more despise people who have firearms, unless it's the government or the people that protect us. That's the level of, and that's actually the mistake that the government have made. So let's go forward a little bit. That does get fairly, when you start to listen to, and you should be starting to listen to, there's people like Jack Carmody or Jack out the back. There's various forms of, and listen, I'm not going to mention all the names, but the people are going through and starting to point out the details of what's actually in this act. A lot of people have done the old ostrich thing. I'll stick my head in the sand and the review will come and it'll all be better. I'm going to look back and open my eyes, it'll be fine. Well, no, nothing's changing. And the power of it getting worse is there. Our commissioner has shown very, very thoroughly he will do whatever it takes to take your firearms and to criminalise you. So let's go forward on the next bits of what I wanted to talk about. I suppose there is a couple of things in play here. There is a positive, like I said, the legal side of things can start. Which is really can start from this point forward. They have decided to not change anything. So really the planning's in place to start to do that. So really people can start to move on that sort of level. More than anything, start to think on that sort of level. There are some pretty big issues here. Human rights. So some of this stuff potentially goes past federal or the High Court or the Supreme Court, goes to international courts, because we are talking human rights. We have decided, this state government has decided to blast on through all forms of personal and human right protection, as their agenda is more important than that. So that is something that is potentially coming with this process. So I suppose the next the bits I wanted to talk about were I suppose there's a little bit of buoyant, I feel a little bit more buoyant talking to, like I said, particularly some of the people that have been inclined to say, no, it's all right, we've got it covered. Or there's, I suppose you would say, some of the organisations, I'm trying to put this in the right words, some of the organisations, some of the people in the organisations have said, let's all fight, we've got it under control. They have just shown very clearly that no, there is no under control. They are not going to listen to this. There has been false hope offered. It didn't work. I feel some of those people that put forward this sort of thing have been duped, and certainly that ends up with the people who were, oh, listen, I don't need to worry about it, realise they've been duped too. So it's very, very important we start to share more and start to explain more with this. The only way forward, some have been saying it for a long time, but it really should be starting to the penny should have hit the end of the runway by now. It should have hit the floor by now. The only chance we have is if we get together. And yes, we still do have a chance, but it is about getting together. The politicians are not going to fix this. There are some that are on the right side. There's some that sound like they're on the right side. All of them will come on the right side when the people have gone there. They want your vote. They will get there. The system can change, but only if the people make enough noise. Right now, the way forward for the government, the way they win is out of our silence. Us going quiet, us being frightened, us sitting still, us thinking someone else has got it covered, us doing all those things here. That has been the script for a long time now. Let someone else lift the load. It'll be fine. I don't need to do too much. Well, that's how they win. That's why we're in this situation right now. So we've got to change that. That does move into those other situations where, yes, there is the tyranny of the government where they'll take your guns. Don't speak up, don't be involved, they'll take your guns. That is their strategy. Or they'll come and get you, they'll inspect you, they'll put you on a list. You're already on a list. If you have a firearm, or to be honest, the way they've done this, some of these laws, if you know someone that has a firearm, you're on a list. You by association have become one of the undesirables in our state, and they will target you. So that pretty much moves anyone who doesn't just have a 9-to-5 city job, go to Bali on holidays or Singapore on holidays or wherever it is and stay in your 15-minute city. That's all you do. The moment you ventured outside, the moment you've got anything to do with a full driving buddy, or you've got to do with pretty much anything that we have in our state, you are in some form or other of association to a firearms owner. So you could do the Nazi Germany thing and just dob them all in, just, we'll dob them all in because that's what they're up to, or you could be part of the fight, because now's where you can change things. And yes, please understand, for those people who aren't in the firearms community and think, oh, well, yes, I don't like guns either. This is so not about guns. This is so about a government that has lost touch with the people to the point where it is able to take every form of right away from you because it doesn't like what you do. So if you like four-wheel driving, do you really think those people that don't like guns like four-wheel drives? If you like hiking through the bush, if you like any form of where it is maybe less government, maybe you want a little bit more of an honest way forward, maybe you don't want to be injected with the next round of stuff that comes your way because the government says, maybe you have some form of free thought. Do you really think you're much different to a firearms owner in the way of how the government perceives it? And if they get away with this, they're not going to use the same tactic on you? So understand, getting together is what this is all about. Now that moves into, in the getting together side of things, as I mentioned, there's been government influences, there's media influences, but there's also some in our community that have ultimately done the wrong thing. They, for whatever their reason was, whatever their motive was, have ended up giving people false hope. Now, my thoughts on this subject are pretty clear. We need to get together. That means, in some cases, we need to forgive some of these people and let it all move on. But certainly for those people that need to control the situation, that need to be the gatekeepers of the situation, the secret squirrel stuff, we can't tell you about this, there's a lot happening behind the scenes, this sort of rubbish, it has to stop. It simply has to stop. If your organisation has that person or those people running it like that, and that's what's going on, they give them a choice, I suppose. I'm definitely in the mode of get out the door, but give them a choice. Change your spots. Run it differently. Do it differently. Full disclosure. Talk about this. Meetings with these people. Stop thinking you know better. Because guess what? This right now shows you didn't know better. And you did encourage people to be quiet. You did encourage people to not go to protest. You did encourage people to not be involved because you had it. Because I got you covered. No, you didn't. You got duped. I've no doubt that your intentions to the largest degree were from the right place. But ultimately, it didn't work. And if we keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, it is the definition of insanity. So if you can't drop it, if you're not that sort of person, step aside, let other people do it. Go and have a holiday somewhere else. If you can do it, change your spot, step back, step aside a little bit, let someone else in the chair there, be more involved. We've all got to do this. And like I said, if your organisation, they won't do that, well, it's your job to do this. Stop being bullied into a place where you don't have the voice. We need to get together and work this. Now, what am I saying? That all sounds wonderful in the way of we got to work this. I'm actually talking about there needs to be multiple strategies from multiple areas. And it's not for someone like me to come up with what those strategies are. That's the whole problem here. We've got lots of smart people amongst us. We have to start the conversations. We have to all carry on the conversations. We have to work out how to work together with them. There should be political processes. Yes, the political side of it is part of it. There are some good people in that area. There's also some politicians in that area which are going to say what they need to say to try and get their vote, try and get your vote. But like I said, it's still part of it. And if we're making enough noise, there'll be more of them that come on side, and then they become useful tools for us rather than useful idiots for the government or for the other side of this. The legal side of things, it is very important. There's lots of strategies to go with this. I think it is a big place, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the legal side of things, multiple areas of attack, multiple areas of defense, multiple places to go with that. There's going to need to be fundraising. More than anything, there's going to need to be strategy to make sense of it. To start in the right place, there's going to need to be legal advice. I'm not suggesting just go and pay money to lawyers. Lawyers, largely, I don't trust. They're more a part of the system and more after the money than they're after the victory. So there's going to be some of it doing at that level, but some lawyers maybe need to be part of this movement as well. We need to get people in who are prepared to give advice without having to rape the bank. We need a way to build that together and use both sides of it. But it's not just go and give money to lawyers and see what they're going to do. No, we need people that are actually on our side, not just for a paycheck. The propaganda side of things, or advertising side of things, I've certainly said a lot of times we have to understand that. A lot of these politicians that have actually gone with, they haven't minded stripping the rights of their of community members, people that are involved with. They don't mind stripping their rights because they hate guns so much. Now, some are smarter than that, don't hate the guns. They know after control without any question. I think the bigger parts of that process, whether it's our government or shadow government or whatever, whoever's in charge, want the control and want to disarm the population. But some of those useful or useless idiots that were on the parliamentary side of things simply hate guns. They simply hate them. They've been propaganda to a place where they hate them, and they think they're that bad that it doesn't matter if you stomp on an individual's rights because they have a gun, and it's that hate. Now, we can fix that, and we're a long way behind it, but that doesn't mean we should have started a long time ago, but that doesn't mean it's too late to start now. We need to be putting funds into, and this probably comes more from the commercial entities of our sport, our way of life, whatever we're going to call firearms in our world, but from our dealers, from our imports, from our sporting organisations, start to spend money on national advertising, smart advertising, to start to push back against that propaganda. This needs to be happening. And that's, I suppose, the other place where I want to try and combine this sort of effort is that, yes, this time round, if we've got dealers that are saying, oh no, we've got it under control, or the import people that don't, the importers in the country are all sitting silent, that side of things. Our clubs, our sporting clubs, all, no, we're not going to be part of that because we don't want to mess up the nest. We want to be on the side of the police. You've got one of either side here. You've got to be on the people's side, or you're going to be on the government side. And it's about time we held them to that. And if that means boycotting, then that's what we should be doing. We should bring our own in line in some form or other. I don't want that at all. I would much prefer we all be on the same time. But now's the shot over the bow that you've seen from the government, how severe this is. It's time to do something. And okay, for some of those organisations, it's too hard. They're going to get targeted too heavily to do it overtly, to do it where it's obvious to everyone. That doesn't mean they can't do it covertly. It doesn't mean they can't help and be involved in other places where they start or encouraging things in the right place to be involved with this side of things. And yes, there will be tactics involved. That's how this game's played. It is about tactics. It is about getting things to the right places. So, and I suppose beyond that point, there's other things I was going to say there, but ultimately it comes to the same thing. We need to get together. We need to start the conversations, and the smart people, which are not the few people that are yelling from the rooftops. It's everybody needs to be part of this conversation and come up with tactics to do this. A thought that I've been working on for a couple of weeks, it's taking a lot, and it really should be more from the community than from an individual. That's what really it needs. I think it's going to be a very valuable tool in several fashions. And the thing I want to bring into this is a full paper, a full review paper that is done by the industry and the users, a review paper on this act and the regulations. Something that goes through and breaks it down thoroughly. So not the pretend thing that they did, which only is cherry picking little bits and pieces. No, the whole damn thing. Do the whole thing properly. In whether it's 700 pages or 2,000 pages, go through the whole process. But built by us putting it together, whether that's using AI in places, whether that's using multiple levels of AI, whether that's using individuals, whether that's using submissions, whether that's using all the bits and pieces. A paper as an idea. Now, the idea of a paper, a peer-reviewed paper, ideally a published paper, whatever level of making it an official thing. It is part of the tactics that the left uses all the time. It's part of tactics and structure in place. So a paper that can be used as something to refer to in a political sense, something that can be referred to in a legal sense, but as something that officially is a way to use logic. Generally, this conversation, logic doesn't matter to the other side because they've got emotion they're running with. But one of the logics they use is paper, and it's whether it's the 97% of all scientists agree with this, or but it's a paper that they're referring to. So we build a paper. We build it thoroughly. We build it with as many people as can be involved to do that side of things. A paper that goes through, and I've got some ideas. These are just ideas. The structure of it should come from our community. It should be set up with legal advice as well, preferably outside legal advice rather than paying for legal advice. But however that works, a paper that works properly. Well, my idea is at this second along the lines of a prelude that goes through, starts off with this paper, goes through the premise that the government has used to say that the firearms are bad. The firearms, that they're actually creating more safety by removing firearms from the community. Now there's lots of things you can go through that. That's a decent amount of writing you go through there. The premise that a round of ammunition is a dangerous thing by itself. A premise that you can go through in all sorts of different things, explain the fact that there's countries that have more firearms that have a lot less crime. Western Australia in particular, has a moderate level of firearms ownership per individual, per 100 people, and yet it has one of the lowest homicide rates in the world, which says that we didn't even have a problem we need to fix. A paper that says that some of the countries that have the highest murder rate, the highest homicide rate, the highest firearm crime rate, do not have the most firearms. And there's some that have the most firearms that have even lower homicide rates, showing that firearms are not the problem. Statistically, we can go through and prove this. So a proper prelude with graphs and bits and pieces that make sense of the premise that they're working with is inaccurate. Then we can also go through something that I want to touch on in other places, and I should go through it a little bit now. The statistical analysis, or the statistics that the government has actually used to put this forward. It's part of justifying what they're doing. One of the things, there's a lot of other stuff I want to talk about this, but one in particular that everyone should have heard when you listen to, if you manage to wade through the stuff that Cole Blanche, the police commissioner, said in front of the room, said with a smug look on his face in front of everyone in a place I recorded. He made the comment that there was last year 80,000 firearms incidents in Western Australia, which to all of us, to all of the people of us in the know, said, what the hell are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense at all. But when you think about it, the people who don't know anymore, they think, wow, these firearms, that's a huge issue. That amount of issues we've had, that amount of instances we've had last year, wow, why haven't we got rid of all the firearms? So what was the deal? Did he lie? Well, he didn't, except for the system they're using does lie. So he was using the lies created by the system. I'll explain it to you. I only know the details that I've got to so far, but the core of it is the police use a recording system, or basically a way of logging what's going on. It's called the IMS system, or the Incident Management System. That system is where they log all the details they have with firearms. The largest number, which is over 60,000 firearms incidences for last year, were people handing in firearms, voluntarily handing in firearms because they were told to by the government. They are logged as incidences, but worse than that, they're logged as seizures. So they have a system. The police are driving a system that they work, basically they justify what they do on the statistics that they gather, and their statistical gathering system is telling lies. Those weren't incidents, and they certainly weren't seizures. They were handed in because the government asked them to. That's the largest. Over 60,000 of those were that. That's what it was. And yet the public think 60,000 bad people got their firearms stolen, because that's what 60,000 seizures would imply, wouldn't it? Because that's how they're logged. That's their system. Oh, it's not our fault. It's just how our system works. No, that's very deliberate, and it's part of this process. The next biggest one, which is also an interesting one to talk about, the next biggest statistic I could find was family law courts, well, I should say driven by family law courts, where it was fear of a firearm in a house. For anyone knows about the going through the process of family law courts, where essentially a couple are breaking up and they're going through divorce proceedings or whatever level, then the family law court or family court lawyers say to particularly the female, if there's firearms in the house, well, you pretty much got to win, because all you have to actually say is you're frightened of the firearms in the house, and you potentially can get an AVO, a restraining order on the male. If they get a restraining order, they win so much better. They do so much better financially. They're so much better custody, because it's actually a tool that the family law courts use, that the lawyers use. So it's definitely underhanded. It's definitely another big problem we've got in Australia, and I think a fair bit of the Western world. But that's the next biggest statistic at, I think, well over, and I don't know the numbers, it was 6,000 or something like that. The actual firearm instances of something happening, something being used in a crime, or something being stolen, or something that is an incident, that actually turned out to be, I couldn't find over 800. So where he just said 80,000, what do we got? I don't know the maths on that quickly. That's 10,000%, or is that 1,000,000%? How much was an actual lie driven out of using statistics structured to get the answer they wanted? There's other things you go into the stuff he said there, the 3% of firearms owners, they're only 3% of the population, and for some reason or other, that means us being a minority was a bad thing. Where we obviously have a system that there's all sorts of other minorities that's actually their strength, isn't it? But obviously we're not a victim minority, so we don't have any strength. We're the bad guys in this world. Anyway, I could go more about that, but there is a lot to weigh into that process in the statistical way that they justify what they did. The next thing that I also thought to go in the paper, which is as much for our community, but it's also for the paper side of things, is the penalties that are in there. A lot of people don't seem to be aware of the penalties. $60,000 in 5 years is actually a written penalty in the Act for possession of an unlicensed firearm. Which, okay, if you're a full criminal and they're trying to get for you something, then okay, maybe that's worth something. But actually, this is just an old gun that, never got licensed, and I'd forgotten I had it. It was handed down from, my great uncle, that sort of stuff. And well, we've just shown a commissioner that doesn't really care. If he can get you for something, he will. There's not really a moral drive to what he's doing. It's firearms owners are bad. $60,000 in 5 years. And actually that, in some form or other, you're giving an unlicensed firearm to someone, or giving a firearm to an unlicensed person, which may be by mistake, $60,000 5 years. For as little as one single round that you are not licensed to. So you have a 44 Magnum round that's in your possession, and you don't have a 44 Magnum caliber as you're licensed to, or for a firearm, chambered firearm that you're licensed to, that is up to $36,000 of fines and 3 years of jail for one round, which we all know one round by itself, without the way to use it, is absolutely harmless. There's, as I've used a reference and other things I've done, a flower pot is more dangerous than a round by itself. But those are, and then there's multiples of 20,000 going across the border without letting the police station know. That's the $20,000. There's multiple tens of fines that are in the over $5,000, and like I said, are going up. The top ones at $60,000, $36,000 for possession of anything of a firearm nature that is in a registered form, or need to be licensed for a form that you can be fined for. So a whole list of those things to let people know. And then the crux of the paper is to go through and point out, I've already started the process of some of the paperwork I've done, but to go through and come up with a set of titles that are where the way that these laws are encroaching on freedoms, breaking the law, potentially breaking the law, potential outcomes, instances where they're written badly. So that includes Henry VIII clauses, all that sort of stuff. Then go and list underneath them all the sections. And there's going to be 30, 40, 50 sections that are listed amongst all that sort of stuff. And then go through the paper. That would potentially be the index level to where you can go through and find that, and then do the whole review on how this happens. Things like what Jack out the back, or Jack Carmody's mentioning, go through in detail and do it properly. So then the section 150, it has these issues, and you're taking away these rights, you're not letting people, you're and I've forgotten exactly, this 150 at the moment, but you go through the process of breakdown, not only the ways that it potentially breaks the law, but also the ways that it potentially can be misinterpreted. Go through it properly, officially go through this thing. Fully review the thing, build it and build it again and build it again and rewrite it and get it to where it is hole-proof, where it can deal the torch, a flame to its feet as to how well it's written, how much integrity it has. And then there's a paper that in whatever form, whether it can get into a journal or it is just industry and user reviewed and legally reviewed and politically reviewed, where we can go through and say this holds water and start to use that. It's a tool, like I said, that the left use, and I think it's a very valuable thing to do. Now, the other thing I would say to go with this is something I'm suggesting. It's not something I'm trying to put my name on. I'm not trying to be part of history in doing this side of things. I feel it could come from our community, and how to facilitate that, whether there's people with admin skills, whether there's people with journal writing skills, whether there's people with paper writing skills, whatever it is, I'm sure there's a lot out there that can help with this sort of stuff. So right at this moment, you're welcome to email me below, and I can I'm using AI a little bit with this sort of stuff. I'm reading, I'm trying to use things, but I'm just trying to do that by myself. It really should be, I've no doubt there's people with all the skills out there that could stick their hand out to be part of this. And that's what I would like to encourage. I'd like to encourage some form or other us getting together. Now maybe that's someone that has in one of the organizations that can say, listen, we can take on that sort of stuff. I'm not offering something for someone to be the hero in this situation. For someone to take it on, this will be our paper. No, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's even constructive. That's probably the biggest issue we've walked through as a community, is that the people that you want to be heroes, the people you want to stand up, the people that have taken this role on and they'll have it covered, and they're the ones that have actually given you false hope. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to try and take away what they tried to do. In all levels, I think it is most beneficial to look at it. They tried and it didn't work. That doesn't mean they should be punished. That doesn't mean they should be taken away from the credit that they deserve for the effort they put in. But we do need to change gears on how we're looking at things. We need to build things as a community, and we need to do all these things I'm talking about, getting together with how we attack or defend or whatever it is. That needs to come from all over the place. It needs to come from us. So how to facilitate this, I'm not sure yet. And it's not for me to design, it's for you to design. That's the big call I want to make. This is for you to design. Work away, get together, smoko rooms, get to ways where you can contact. There's Facebook pages, there may be suggestions, there may be new Facebook pages, there may be websites. An organization, no, I don't think it's the way to do it, to be truthful. I think it has to happen from multiple levels of this and us getting together. So listen, put your comments below, make your suggestions below, and make it to other channels as well. Make it to whoever is talking about this. But if there is things, if you are a small organization, a small group, and want me to broadcast what you've got to say and how to get in contact, then for sure, I'm very willing to. So send me that. There's an email there. You can put it in a comment, whatever it is. If you've got a better way of doing it, then do that. But let's start to step up. Let's start to become a combined force. Let's bring as many people into this. Yes, your four drivers, your campers, your fishers, your farmers, the rest of it. They all know, well, they should know by now. Surely they know by now that they're in the crosshairs. They're just getting the firearms dues sorted away before they start the next one. And as for the political people that are talking the talk, listen, it's only worth something. It's only worth something if we, the people, make enough noise. Is that protest? Maybe. Is that stop work? Is that strikes? Maybe. Mainly, it's us getting together and becoming a voice. Mainly, it's us getting together and working it out. And out of that, we'll find this. But it's time to stop relying on someone else helping you. It's time to help yourself. It's time to be part of this. And for all those people frightened, your silence is their victory. Your silence is their victory. That's all they need to finish this. That's all they need. You go quiet. I'm frightened. I don't want to do this. And yeah, I've heard people say, right now, I've got some animals that I have to try and pest control, but I prefer to use horrible poison because I do not need to have my house raided in the middle of the night because I'm a licensed firearms owner. And the moment I step away from this, I don't have to, the moment I'm not a firearms owner, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't believe that's actually the case with the way this government's going, but that is what some people are saying. We have been lowered to the licensed firearms owner, the way the government's done it, we've been lowered to a lower class of human in Western Australia. We have less rights than a member of organised crime. We simply have less rights with what they've done, which, yes, legally, we should be able to push a lot further. As to how to do it, I don't know, but that is a crime to do that in the world I've grown up in. There is, and listen, I don't know all the rest of it. It sounds like a Geneva Convention thing. I don't know. Not my job to know. There are people out there do know. Start this conversation. Understand how big it is. Let's turn it. Let's work it. Let's find a way out of this. It is doable. We just got to want it enough. Anyway, that was way too long. I hope I got what I needed said. I hope I didn't mess up with too much of that sort of stuff there. People do seem to get uppity about that sort of thing. I'm doing my best, and I would really like us all to be doing the same. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking in. We'll catch you next time.